Imagine being told to move just because of the color of your skin, on a flight you paid for, in a seat you reserved. Now picture the whole cabin holding its breath as a young black woman stands her ground. And what happens next stuns even the flight crew. Before we dive into this unforgettable story of injustice, strength, and one unexpected twist after another, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another powerful story like this. The Bohemian et al. Started on a packed transatlantic flight from New York to London, a route known for its diversity of passengers and its intensity in terms of travel volume. Among the passengers was 28-year-old Zaraya Coleman, a poised and brilliant marketing executive who had finally saved up enough vacation days and miles to reward herself with a long overdue break. She had specifically chosen a window seat in premium economy to enjoy the sunrise over the Atlantic and some peace after months of back-to-back campaigns at work. Zaraya wasn't flashy. She wore a soft beige trench coat, box braids pulled back into a bun, gold hoops, and AirPods in her ears, scrolling quietly through a playlist. As she settled into seat 14A, she gave the cabin crew a polite nod and tucked her Kindle into the seat pocket, ready for a restful flight. Then came the chaos. A tall, loud white woman in her early 40s marched down the aisle holding a toddler by one hand and dragging a pink Hello Kitty backpack in the other. She wore a designer hoodie, carried an aura of entitlement, and seemed to have her eyes locked onto Zaraya before she even reached her row. "Excuse me," the woman said with a tight, forced smile. "You're in my daughter's seat. We need this row." Zaraya blinked slowly, removed one AirPod, and replied calmly, "No, I booked this seat. You can check the boarding pass." The woman scoffed as if she had been told the most offensive lie in the world. "I know it says you're in this seat, but I need this row for my child. I'm sure you don't mind moving to the back so we can sit together. She can't sit alone." Zaraya frowned but stayed polite. "I understand, but I picked this seat for a reason. I'm not moving." The toddler began to whimper, clearly overwhelmed by her mother's tone. But the woman was undeterred. "It's just one seat. Come on, be reasonable. Don't be difficult." Zaraya pressed the call button, refusing to engage further. A flight attendant, tall, young, and alert, approached quickly. Her name tag read Jessica. Jessica looked between the two women, sensing tension. "Is everything okay here?" The mother immediately launched into a tirade. "Yes, there's just a little confusion. This woman is in our seat, and my daughter can't sit alone. Surely you understand, I'm a mother." Jessica checked the boarding passes and confirmed Zaraya was indeed seated correctly. "Ma'am," she said to the mother, "you're in 16B and 16C. This is not your assigned seat, but it's just a couple rows." "She can move," the mother hissed. Jessica took a deep breath. "We cannot ask passengers to move from seats they paid for. I'm sorry, but you and your daughter will need to sit in your assigned seats." The mother's face turned red. "Are you taking her side? This is ridiculous." "I'm taking the airline's policy side," Jessica replied coolly. "Now please return to your seats, or we can involve the gate agent." The cabin fell silent. Passengers were watching. The mother stomped down the aisle in a flurry of anger. Zaraya remained seated, her expression unreadable. The plane took off as scheduled, but the atmosphere was frosty. Zaraya felt a mixture of emotions, pride for standing her ground, but also the familiar ache of being targeted and misunderstood. She tried to return to her book, but she noticed eyes on her, sympathetic glances from some passengers, and disapproving scowls from others who seemed to believe the mother's entitlement was valid. Meanwhile, the woman in 16B was not finished. She muttered audibly, talked loudly to her daughter about rude people, and even snapped at a flight attendant who offered her juice. Zaraya remained calm, refusing to let it ruin her flight. But halfway through the journey, the situation escalated. The mother left her seat, marched back up to row 14, and began filming Zariah on her phone. "This is the woman who wouldn't let a child sit with her mother," she said loudly. "Everyone, take a look." Zariah leaned back, stunned. "Are you serious right now?" "Absolutely. The world needs to see this. How cold can you be to separate a child from her mother?" Before Zariah could respond, Jessica appeared again. "Ma'am, filming passengers without their consent is against our airline's policy. Please stop or I will have to confiscate the phone and report this as harassment." "Harassment?" "She harassed my child by taking her seat." The mother shouted. Jessica's voice dropped an octave, cool and commanding. "Final warning." The woman turned off the camera but didn't go quietly. "We'll see what social media says when I post this." That's when something unexpected happened. An older white gentleman sitting behind Zariah leaned forward and said, "Ma'am, we all saw what happened. You're in the wrong. Let it go." More voices joined in. "She didn't do anything wrong. You're embarrassing yourself. Leave her alone." The mother's face went pale as she realized the crowd wasn't on her side. Zariah looked around, stunned by the support. For once, the silence was broken for her, not against her. After the commotion, the captain himself made an announcement, addressing passenger conduct and respect for others, clearly referencing the incident. The mother finally remained seated, humiliated but still fuming. Zariah was approached by Jessica, who knelt beside her row and apologized quietly. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You handled it with real grace." Zariah gave a small smile. "Thank you. I've been through worse, sadly." Jessica nodded solemnly. "If it helps, I filed a report. She won't get away with this." Zariah appreciated the gesture, but she wasn't prepared for what came next. A few hours later, as meals were being distributed, a man from business class came back to premium economy, asked the crew something quietly, and was escorted to Zariah. "Excuse me," he said kindly. "Would you mind switching with me? I'm in 4A. I saw how you were treated earlier. That's not how people should behave, and I'd be honored if you'd take my seat." Zariah blinked. "You want me to take your business class seat? You deserve it more than I do today." The crew nodded their approval. Zariah hesitated but finally stood. "That's incredibly kind of you." "Thank you." She gathered her things and moved up the aisle, head held high, past the mother who now sat rigid and silent, watching Zariah move into luxury, a privilege she had tried to deny her just hours earlier. Other passengers clapped softly. In 4A, Zariah settled in with a glass of sparkling water, reclining into a plush leather seat, overwhelmed by the sheer contrast of how things had turned. When the plane landed at Heathrow, Zariah was the first off. She thanked Jessica and the man from business class, exchanged emails with the elderly gentleman who had supported her, and walked off the plane taller than ever. But the story didn't end there. A fellow passenger had recorded the mother's outburst, not Zariah's reaction, but the entire event from a fair distance. The video was posted online by a travel blogger who had witnessed it all. The title read, "Black Woman Harassed on Plane, Watch Who Comes to Her Defense." It went viral within hours. Zariah woke up the next day to hundreds of messages, media inquiries, and strangers thanking her for standing up with dignity. The airline issued a public statement condemning discrimination and praising the flight crew. Jessica was promoted shortly after for her professionalism. But the biggest twist came a week later. The mother from the flight tried to spin the story on her social media, claiming she was the victim. But receipts were everywhere. The public saw through it. Zariah, meanwhile, was invited to speak at a conference about resilience and equity in travel spaces. She used her story not as a weapon of revenge, but as a beacon of awareness. And she ended her talk with this: "You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to fight fire with fire. Sometimes sitting in your seat, unbothered and unapologetic, is the loudest statement of all." If you were moved by Zariah's journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that reveal truth, justice, and the strength of quiet courage.